My name is Madison. I'm 27. And 2 weeks ago, I sat in my parents' living room while they calmly told me I was being cut off. No money. No apartment. No support. Nothing. And the crazy part, I wasn't even surprised. I wish I could tell you this was sudden, that it came out of nowhere. But honestly, I think my family was waiting for the right moment to get rid of me. To strip away what they gave me and remind me that, to them, I was always just the extra. The one who didn't follow the path. The one who asked too many questions. The one who looked like mom but thought like someone they didn't recognize. It all started with that damn family meeting. I got the text 2 days before. From my brother's wife, of course. Not even from my mom. Family meeting Sunday. 4 p.m. sharp. No excuses. Bring your planner and a positive attitude. I wanted to laugh. Because of course Natalie sent it like a HR manager giving feedback after firing someone. I showed up anyway. Because you can only ignore your own blood for so long. Even when they make your blood boil. Everyone else was already there when I walked in. My father, Dean. He's the kind of man who reads 3 newspapers every morning and believes none of them. My mother, Lynn. Perfect posture, perfect hair. And a smile that's always just a little too tight. My brother, Chase. Golden boy since birth. Runs a private investment firm. Drives a Tesla. Married a girl who calls her dad, Daddy, at 32. And then me. Madison Grace Carrington. The wild one. The one who quit law school. The one who wasted her MBA on something no one in the family cared about. The one they couldn't control. The room was quiet when I walked in. My dad didn't even look up. "You're late," he said, flipping through a leather folder like he was in a boardroom. "No one said I'd be graded on punctuality," I replied, dropping into the velvet chair near the corner. "We're here because we've decided to restructure things," my mom said. Not ask, not discuss, decided. That's how it always went with them. Discussions were just speeches with the illusion of choice. "What things exactly?" asked. My brother cleared his throat and pulled out a printed spreadsheet. Course. Inheritance. Trust dispersals. Asset assignments. Blink. "You're dividing everything up already. Dad's not even sick." My mom pursed her lips. "This isn't about illness. It's about order. Legacy. And quite frankly, Madison, responsibility. And I'm the irresponsible one. You dropped out of law school. Then started a consulting company no one's ever heard of. You barely show up to family events. And now you want us to reward that with equity. I didn't ask for anything. No, you just expected it. That hit harder than I expected. Because maybe part of me did expect something. Not money. Not houses. Just space. Recognition. Respect. A seat at the damn table. But instead my dad looked up at me and said, "Effective immediately, you're removed from the Carrington financial portfolio. No more monthly transfers. The penthouse lease will be terminated at the end of the quarter. And we've decided to reallocate your shares into a family emergency trust." I stared at him. They weren't just cutting me off. They were erasing me. I didn't cry. Didn't yell. Didn't give them the reaction I'm sure Natalie was dying to record on her phone. I just stood up, smoothed my skirt and grabbed my phone. "Is that it?" My mom gave a half shrug. "You're welcome to stay for dinner. Natalie made lemon chicken." "I'm good." I turned, walked to the door, heart pounding, and paused only to check a single message. It was already waiting for me. From her. "All set. Let me know when you're ready, CEO." Smiled. Not for them. For me. Because they didn't know what I'd been building. What I'd been hiding. What I owned. And in about 24 hours. The entire Carrington family would know exactly who they underestimated. You ever been told you were nothing? Right before you showed them everything. This is that story. But hey, if you've ever been cut off, shut down, or pushed aside by your own people, stick around. Because trust me, what happens next? They didn't see it coming. And neither will you. Hit that like if you've ever been the underdog. Comment if you've got your own prove them wrong moment. And subscribe. Only if you're adult enough for the real, raw revenge stories I'm about to tell. Because this was just the first meeting. I didn't cry until I got home. And by home, I mean the penthouse I'd lived in for 2 years, paid for by my trust, managed by my father's lawyers, and now apparently on a 90-day countdown to goodbye. But not for long. Because I wasn't planning on staying there. Or anywhere they'd feel smug knowing I still relied on them. I kicked off my heels, shut the door behind me, and collapsed against the cool marble tile. My phone buzzed again. It was her. Want me to send the car, or do you want to drive yourself? Either way, we're ready. Her name was Harper. My assistant. My strategist. My secret weapon. And the only person who knew what I'd been building for the last 18 months. So here's the part one didn't tell them. The part no one in the Carrington family even suspected. When I left law school and started that consulting business, they laughed behind my back, said it was a phase, a coping mechanism for being the family misfit. But what I really started was a private data company, not just consulting. We specialized in something no one else was doing well at the time. Digital vulnerability analysis for high-end clients. Translation. We told rich, powerful people where they were weak. Before someone else did. And it made us millions. By the time I was 26, I had 4 silent partners, 2 government contracts, and a database that terrified hedge funds, CEOs, and politicians alike. The name of my company. MJ Cipher and Company. Madison Grace Cipher. No Carrington. No family ties. Just me. And today, we were launching something new. Something I hadn't even told Harper about until this week. The final piece. The part that would make me unignorable. I pulled into our private office at 11 p.m. sharp. Harper was already waiting, laptop open, sleek black blazer, no nonsense. She glanced up from the screen. Well, they cut me off. Good. Excuse me. Now you don't owe them anything. Smirk. She was right. What's our traffic? Waitlists up to 19,000. And that's just from the beta launch link you tweeted last week. The system. Fully integrated. AI-powered risk mapping, ethical use compliance greenlit. And the analytics dashboard is already predicting multi-market spikes in security demand. And the investors. Begging. But you said no outside capital, remember? I leaned back, heart racing. This was it. No more testing. No more private invites. We were going public in 10 hours. I stayed the night at the office. Not because I had to, but because I wanted to be there when the switch flipped. At 8 a.m. we went live. The press release hit every major tech blog. My interview dropped on a podcast with 12 million monthly listeners. And within 2 hours we were trending. The unknown cyber CEO who's reshaping digital security. MJ Cipher's launch breaks tech barriers. The billion-dollar startup you've never heard of until now. And then came the calls. Clients, investors, agencies. Even a few people I'd ghosted in business school suddenly remembered my number. But the one call I didn't expect came from my mother. I let it ring. I wasn't ready yet. But I didn't ignore the second call. That one came from my brother's wife, Natalie. And she didn't sound nearly as composed this time. Hi Madison. Saw the article. Chase showed it to your father and, look, I think there's been some misunderstanding. They're talking about maybe reconsidering the trust details and... Cut her off. Natalie. I'm in a meeting. Oh, of course, I just wait, are you? My assistant will call you back. Blick. Harper stared at me across the table. You good. Never better. He grinned. You want to tell them yet? Not yet. Because if you don't, I will. With fireworks. I laughed. No. We're going to let them watch it happen. Slowly. Publicly. No press release. No apology. Just presence. What about the family gala next week? Oh, I'm attending. You got an invite. No. But I bought the venue. You ever have a moment so pure, so satisfying it makes the pain worth it? That's what this day was. They cut me off thinking I had nothing. But they forgot who they raised. They raised someone who watched their every move. And quietly built something they'd never be able to control. And you know what? If you're still here, if you're watching this and something in your chest tightened when I said they erased me, then maybe you're like me. Someone they underestimated. But not for long. I stood in front of the mirror that night and barely recognized myself. Black silk gown. Backless. Sculpted at the waist. Custom. Hand-stitched. No logo. But the kind of elegance that screams without saying a word. Harper had picked it. Course. You're not showing up to this thing looking like a guest, she'd said. You're walking in like the ghost of their regrets. And that's exactly what I plan to do. The Carrington Family Gala. Annual. Extravagant. Exclusive. Held every summer in some high society venue. This year. The East River Grand Hall in Manhattan. Except they didn't know that I now owned the venue. Purchased through a silent holding company 3 days prior. One signature. One wire transfer. That's the thing about money no one sees. It moves faster when they think you don't have any. I arrived fashionably 15 minutes late. Walked in solo. No entourage. No PR team. Just me. And the moment I stepped through the doors. Silence. Like a record skipped. Heads turned. Eyes widened. Natalie dropped her champagne flute. I took a slow breath and walked across the floor like I was born there. Because in a way I wasn't just reclaiming space. I was rewriting history. I found my mother first. She was near the orchestra in emerald green, giving orders about the dessert layout. "Madison," she said, as if unsure whether I was real or a hallucination from too much Pinot. "Hi, Mom. What are you doing here?" I smiled, soft and polite. "Didn't you hear? I'm one of the sponsors this year." Her eyes darted to the registration table, where, right next to Carrington Family Foundation, it now read, "Presented by MG Cipher Holdings." "What is this?" she whispered. "It's a tech firm. Mine. You can't just." "Oh, I can." I leaned in slightly. "Also, I suggest you tell the staff to move your table. Yours was double booked." "By who?" "By me." Chase came over next, of course. His expression was some perfect mix of panic and confusion. "Maddie, what is going on?" "Hey, Chase. Great tie. Does your firm invest in cybersecurity? Because if not, you might want to shift soon. What the hell are you doing here? Did Natalie not tell you? I'm the other name on tonight's welcome letter. You know, the one in cursive." "That's you." I gave him a look that could cut diamonds. Surprised I can write in cursive. By now the whole floor was watching. My old classmates, my father's golf friends, even board members from his company. All of them pretending not to remember what they said about me when I left law school. All of them wondering how I managed this. And then, it happened. Right on cue. Harper walked in. Business suit. Clipboard. Comms in her ear. She approached me calmly, leaned in, and said loud enough for everyone to hear. "Ms. Carrington, press is requesting an interview. Do you want to do that before or after your keynote?" My brother blinked. "Keynote?" I turned to him. "Oh, didn't you get the schedule? You were probably too busy reallocating my trust fund." 10 minutes later I was on stage. Under chandeliers that used to represent everything I'd never have. I told them the story. Not all the secrets. Not yet. But enough. How I built something they didn't believe in. How I survived the silence. And how sometimes being cut off is the greatest gift of all. Because when they stop holding you up, you learn how to build your own ladder. By the time I stepped down, the applause wasn't just polite. It was real. People wanted to shake my hand, exchange cards, schedule meetings. And the Carringtons. They stood frozen, cornered in their own kingdom. As I left the gala that night, Harper looked at me and smiled. "Was it everything you wanted?" "No," I said, slipping into the back of the car. "It was better. But this wasn't the peak. Because beneath all the glamour and praise, there was still a secret. Real one. Something I'd discovered about my family's money. Something buried, dangerous, and still hidden. And if I opened that door, no one in the Carrington name would ever sleep peacefully again. But should I? You tell me. 3 days after the gala, a letter arrived. Hand-delivered. No stamp. No courier. No return address. Just my name. In handwriting I hadn't seen since I was a teenager. It was my grandfather's. I didn't even know anyone still had access to his old safe. He'd passed when I was 19, before any of this. Before the tension. Before the silence. Before the "you're cut off" meeting. He was the only Carrington who ever saw me as more than a rebellion in high heels. The envelope was thick. Inside was a single handwritten note. And a key. Madison. If this ever finds its way to you, it means the family finally did what I feared they would. They cut you off to protect something. Something I never agreed with. There's a safe room behind the east wall of my old study. Inside it, the truth. Decide what to do with it. Love. Granddad. My blood turned to ice. A safe room. What the hell had they been hiding? And why did it feel like I wasn't supposed to know? I waited until midnight. Parked 4 blocks from the Carrington estate. Wore black, no makeup, and tied my hair back like I used to in college, when I snuck out the back door instead of through the front. I still had my old gate code. Some things they forgot to revoke. The house was empty. Everyone was in the Hamptons for some charity thing. I crept into my grandfather's study. Everything was the same. His books. The Globe bar. The old leather chair with the cracked arm. I walked to the east wall, ran my fingers along the wainscoting, and found it. A faint groove in the paneling. I inserted the key. The wall popped open with a quiet click. Behind it, a narrow staircase. Cold. Icy. Unlit. And at the bottom, a metal vault door with a keypad. I tried the birthday I always remembered, mine. Nothing. Then his. Still nothing. And then I typed in my mom's. Click. The vault opened. What I found inside wasn't money. It wasn't jewelry. It wasn't even family documents. It was files. Black folders. Labeled and coded. Inside each one. Business reports. Contracts. Financial statements. Names I recognized. Senators. Lawyers. CEOs. And Carrington signatures on all of it. It took me less than 5 minutes to realize what this was. Power web. One my family built. One they maintained. And one they would destroy anyone to protect. Including me. I took photos of everything. Didn't remove the files. Didn't make noise. Just documented. Because the smartest kind of revenge doesn't announce itself. Builds quietly. And when it strikes, doesn't just expose secrets. Collapses empires. When I got home, Harper was waiting. I showed her the pictures. She didn't blink. You realize this isn't just dirty money, she said. This is blackmail. Political leverage. Insider deals. RICO-level stuff. I know. And if they find out you have this, they won't. Unless they already do. Pause. Then remembered something. Natalie. She saw me leave the gala with something in my hand. What? The envelope. Hit me then. They might already suspect I knew. And if that was true, then my time was running out. Not as Madison Carrington, but as MG Cypher. Because secrets this big, they don't stay silent. They scream. And sometimes, they scream loud enough to ruin everything. Even the revenge I wasn't done taking. You ever dig too deep and feel the floor shift under you? That's where I'm standing now. And I have to ask, would you keep going? Would you open the door wider? Or would you walk away while you still could? Drop your answer in the comments. Like this if you've ever had to carry something dangerous, alone. And if you're bold enough for what's coming next, subscribe now. Because in now they find out I know. And that changes everything. The first sign they knew was the breakfast invitation from my mother. Handwritten. Elegant. But cold in that signature Lynn Carrington way. Madison, we should talk. No pressure. Just breakfast. Sunday. The conservatory. 9 a.m. sharp. No pressure. That's rich. Coming from a woman who used napkin choice as a reason to criticize my emotional maturity at Thanksgiving. But I said yes, because sometimes you have to walk into the lion's den just to make the lion nervous. I wore white, not because I wanted to look innocent, but because I wanted to look untouchable, like the truth hadn't already scorched the inside of my brain. I arrived right on time. The table was already set. Fresh orchids, silverware that had belonged to my grandmother, crystal glasses, filled with something that looked like fresh-pressed grapefruit. But I didn't touch anything. And my mother, she smiled as if she'd just bumped into me at a boutique. "You look tired," she said, slicing her croissant perfectly in half. "You look prepared." She laughed lightly, like it was a game. "Darling, if you came here to posture, don't. We're past that. Are we? We know you've been exploring, looking through things, digging. Dangerous behavior." I tilted my head. "Define dangerous." She sipped her drink. "Your grandfather loved you, Madison. But he never understood legacy. Not the way we do. Some things are meant to be handled within the family. Quietly. Elegantly. You mean hidden. I mean protected. From what? Accountability. From exposure. From collapse. From the mess of things outsiders wouldn't understand." I leaned forward just slightly. "Funny. You never seemed too worried about outsiders when you cut me off in front of half the city's elite." Her eyes twitched just for a second. "That wasn't personal." "No. It was strategic. But so is everything with you." She paused, then reached into her purse and slid something across the table. A non-disclosure agreement. Custom. Bound with a blue satin ribbon like a birthday present from hell. "Sign it, Madison. We'll restore the trust. Quiet the noise. Your company can continue operating as it is. We'll even help it grow. And if I don't, then you'll be at war with your own name." That assumes I still want the name. Everyone wants to belong to something, eventually. Picked up the NDA. Flipped it open. Read just the first line. Then closed it slowly and smiled. "Do you remember when I was 10, and you made me rewrite my school essay because it made our family look unpolished?" "Vaguely. I do. Because that was the day I realized something." "What?" "That I'd rather tell the truth than be your perfect lie." I stood up. Didn't take the NDA. Didn't finish the grapefruit. Didn't even push in my chair. I walked out. And as I did, I heard her say, barely above a whisper, "You'll regret this. Maybe. But not yet." That night Harper and I met on the roof of our office building. We didn't say much at first. Just stared out at the skyline like it might give us answers. Finally she asked, "So, we releasing it? Files. Data. The web of corruption that tied my family to lobbyists, tech giants, and backroom deals so dark they'd make headlines for months." I didn't answer right away. Because this wasn't just about revenge anymore. This was about truth. And truth is dangerous, especially when it has a voice. I turned to Harper. "We're going to build something better. Like a media release. No. Platform. Vault. A public library of suppressed information. Verified. Clean. Anonymous. Legal where it needs to be. Like a digital whistleblower haven." "Exactly. And we launch it how?" "On Carrington Foundation Day." Harper blinked. "The family's biggest event of the year. Where the governor, 5 CEOs, and a dozen journalists attend." "Yup. And how do we get invited?" "We don't." "Then how?" "We sponsor it." She laughed. "I've worked with some bold people, Mads. But this is poetic. No, this is justice. And it's only just getting started." But deep down, I knew something. Once this launched, once we turned on the light in the room they'd kept dark for decades, they wouldn't just try to stop me. They'd try to bury me. But I was done being afraid of shadows. Now, they were afraid of me. I woke up that morning with adrenaline in my throat. Not fear. Focus. Today wasn't about revenge anymore. It was about reclaiming power from people who'd hoarded it for decades and used it like a weapon. It was Carrington Foundation Day, and I had exactly 8 hours to rewrite history. The launch plan was simple, ruthless, and perfectly timed. Harper and I had been working in silence for weeks, building a digital infrastructure that couldn't be traced, bought, or shut down. We called it the Ledger, an anonymous, encrypted public vault that would hold every file, every contract, every email I'd pulled from my grandfather's safe. With a twist. We weren't just leaking my family's secrets. We were inviting others to do the same. Because truth isn't just revenge. It's contagious. The Carrington Foundation Day was held at the Plaza Ballroom every year. Big names, flashbulbs, speeches that sounded noble and meant nothing. I wasn't invited, obviously. But I didn't need to be. 'Cause this year, we were one of the primary sponsors. Through another shell company. One they didn't bother to vet. So while my mother gave her annual Legacy Matters speech and my brother clinked glasses with politicians, a single line of text appeared on the giant LED screens above them all. In white, clean font. Legacy should be earned, not stolen. Panic hit faster than champagne. Phones came out. People whispered. Security scanned the room. Natalie fainted. And in less than 4 minutes, we were trending. The site crashed twice from traffic before our servers rebalanced. Within the hour, the ledger was being dissected live on 6 news outlets. And every name inside had something to lose. At our office, Harper was watching 3 screens at once. We have whistleblowers uploading data in real time, she said. Law firms, HR reps, former execs. It's not just the Carringtons anymore. Good. You really started something. No, I said quietly. We did. And then came the call. Block number. Answered anyway. It was my father. You've made your point, Madison. I'm not trying to make a point. You think this is noble. Airing secrets. Hurting innocent people who've done nothing to you. What's innocent about hiding criminal transactions behind charity galas? You think this doesn't touch you too? Try me. Silence. Then he said something I didn't expect. Your grandfather wanted to bring it all down. But he was weak. You, on the other hand. I could hear it in his voice. Not disappointment. Not anger. Fear. You're dangerous. I know, I said. You made me this way. Hung up. Heart pounding. Not from stress. From clarity. Because sometimes to fix a broken system, you have to break it louder. And that's exactly what I was doing. But as I stared out the window, Harper's voice pulled me back. Mads, you need to see this. She turned her screen toward me. And there, on a hidden server, was a file I hadn't uploaded. A new folder. Labeled in code. My initials. My birthday. My real name, Madison Grace Carrington, had been added anonymously 10 minutes ago from an IP address that traced back to the Carrington estate. Someone on the inside had just joined the fight. But who? And why now? Because whatever's in that folder, it wasn't just meant to help me. It was meant to warn me. You ever think you're the one flipping the table, until you realize someone else just moved all the pieces? That's where I am now. And if you think this story peaked at the gala, you're dead wrong. 'Cause now, we find out what's in the folder. And trust me, changes everything. The folder sat on my screen like a dare. A named sender. Encrypted contents. And only one clue. The file name matched my birthday. Down to the minute. Whoever sent it didn't just know me. They'd been tracking me. Harper ran diagnostics for 20 minutes. It's clean, she said. No malware. No trapdoors. But it's definitely from someone inside the Carrington house. Not a leak. Nope. A message. What kind? She gave me a look I hadn't seen before. A mix of caution and fear. The kind that says, I know more than you think. Clicked it. The file opened into a secure video player. One video, 5 minutes long, grainy, handheld, clearly recorded in secret. And what it showed turned my stomach. It was my father, sitting in his private study, leaning forward over a heavy briefcase and whispering into a phone. "The ledger's live. Yes, it's her. She found the archive. I don't know how. But I told you if she ever went looking." Silence. He listened, then said, "No, she's too public now. We can't just disappear her. We need a solution that looks unfortunate, like a collapse. Her company maybe. Data breach. Ruin her." Quietly, he leaned back, took a sip of scotch, then added, "And if she doesn't stop?" Pause. Smirk. "There are always other ways." Paused the video. Tried to breathe. Because this wasn't just power. This was threat. A father, planning to destroy his daughter, because she became inconvenient. And worse. He wasn't acting alone. Who was on the other end of that call? Another investor. Politician. Someone even higher. This web was deeper than I thought. And now I wasn't just fighting for justice. I was fighting to survive. Harper slammed her laptop shut. "That's it. We go to the press." "Bi. Someone." "No," I said. "Not yet. Madison, he's planning to collapse your company. You could lose everything." "Exactly. But if I move now, I lose the upper hand. And if you don't, then we let him make the first move. And what if that move is fatal?" I met her eyes. Cold. "Then we make the last one count." I didn't sleep that night. I just sat in the dark, watching the video again and again, listening to his tone, his choice of words, the casual cruelty that rolled off his tongue like routine. And I thought about the younger version of me, the one who used to stand in that study, barefoot and naive, waiting for her father's approval. And I realized, he never saw me as his daughter, just a variable, threat, an asset, until I became a liability. But now, he made a mistake. He thought this was a game of pieces. He forgot I built the board. The next morning I went quiet. No interviews. No statements. I shut down my public profiles and locked down the company's social assets. And in the silence, built something new. Second ledger. Hidden. Firewalled. This one wouldn't just expose secrets. It would predict their next moves. Because I wasn't just reacting anymore. I was preparing. Then something strange happened. Second email came. Same encryption. Same sender. This time. Just 5 words. "You're not the only one." And below it, photo of me, age 12, sitting at the Carrington summer home, holding hands with someone I didn't recognize. But they'd circled the boy in red ink. And underneath, in handwriting I didn't recognize. "He knows the first secret." You ever feel like the past is chasing you? That's where I am now, running toward answers, while the ghosts I left behind finally start running toward me. This story, it's not about one betrayal anymore. It's about something much older. And if that photo is what I think it is, then someone in my family has been lying from the very beginning. I stared at the photo for an hour. The curls in my hair, the freckles I used to hate, the pink bracelet from a summer camp I barely remembered. And then him. Boy. Maybe a year older. Tan skin. Shaggy dark hair. A grin so easy it made my heart ache. I didn't recognize him. Not exactly. But something in my chest did. Like a whisper just out of reach. Harper zoomed in on his face. "We can run facial recognition." "No," I said quickly. "I need to find him myself." She looked at me sideways. "Why?" I didn't answer. Because I wasn't sure yet if I wanted the truth, or if I was just afraid of what it might change. The photo was dated July 15th. The same summer we stayed at the Carrington Lake House in Vermont. Only that year, I remembered something weird. That trip was cut short. Abruptly. They told me it was because of a plumbing issue. But I remember waking up one night to screaming. Arguments downstairs. My mom crying. And the boy, the one in the photo, was gone the next morning. No goodbye. No explanation. Just gone. And no one ever spoke of him again. I dug through the old Carrington archives. Not digital, those were scrubbed clean years ago. But the paper records. Still untouched. It took me 3 hours of flipping through guest logs from the summer home before I found it. Elias R. 1 guest room, July 11th to 15th. No last name. No details. Just Elias R. I took the name to Harper. She raised an eyebrow. You think he's the sender? Or the reason behind it? And what if this is a setup? Then I'll know when I look him in the eye. Took 3 days. Private investigator. Background tracing. Quiet, under-the-radar tracking. And finally, we found him. Elias Reyes. 32 years old. Lives in upstate New York. Works for a non-profit legal group. Focused on whistleblower protection. The irony wasn't lost on me. We didn't reach out. We drove there. Because some things, you say face to face. He opened the door with hesitation. Then froze. Eyes locked on me. Like he was looking at a ghost. Madison. You remember me. You're the reason I never forgot. We sat across from each other in his kitchen. No security. No microphones. Just 2 people caught in a memory neither of us fully understood. I showed him the photo. He smiled sadly. I thought that picture was gone. Who took it? Your grandfather. My stomach dropped. Why? Because he didn't want them to erase me. Them. Your father. Your uncle. The rest of the board. What did they do, Elias? He hesitated. Then finally said it. I'm your brother. The world tilted. I stared at him trying to process. That's not possible. It is. We have the same father. My mom. She was one of the estate managers. She got pregnant. He paid her off. Said we'd be taken care of. But when I was 10, your grandfather found out. He tried to make it right. I shook my head slowly. No, my dad would never. He would. And he did. Until your grandfather tried to bring me into the family. That summer. That photo. He introduced us on purpose. But your father found out. He shut it down. Kicked us both out. Threatened my mom. Paid off the press. But why now? Why the file? Because I saw your name trending. And I saw the ledger. I knew you weren't like him. I knew you were the only one who could handle the truth. I sat in silence, processing everything I thought I knew about myself, my family, my past, shattered in 5 minutes of truth. Why didn't you come forward sooner? Yes. Because I thought you were one of them. But now, you're the only one who might finally burn it all down. Back at the office, Harper didn't say anything for a full minute after I told her. Then she asked the only question that mattered. So what now? I stared out the window, at the skyline my family used to own. Now, we add his story to the ledger. And your father. He wanted to ruin me quietly. And now, I'm going to dismantle him publicly. One truth at a time. You ever find out the blood in your veins isn't what you thought? That there's more to you than the lies they built around your name. That's where I am now. And this is just the beginning. The morning we published Elias's story, I expected backlash. What I didn't expect was silence. Not a tweet. Not a headline. Not even a legal threat. Just nothing. And that scared me more than the noise. Because silence means they're calculating. Elias's story went live on the homepage of the Ledger under a new banner. Erased bloodlines. We included the photo, the guest log, the hush money trail, even a statement from his mother, now terminally ill but still brave enough to speak. Within hours, our servers were flooded. People shared their own stories. Illegitimate children, disappeared employees, whispers of family cleanups, buried under NDAs and non-competes. But still, nothing from my family. Until that night. I was at the office. Lights low. Harper on another floor. Elias asleep in the break room. We didn't want him going home just yet. And then my phone buzzed. Block number. Again. I let it ring once. Twice. And picked up. You wanted the truth, my father's voice rasped. Now you have it. You could have told me yourself. Years ago. And destroy what I built. For a mistake I tried to fix. Elias isn't a mistake. He's my brother. He's a liability. And so are you now. Then why haven't you buried me yet? Silence. Then he said something I hadn't expected. Because you're smarter than I gave you credit for. But not smart enough to see who you're really up against. You. He laughed, low and bitter. Me. No, sweetheart. I'm the least of your worries. There are people above me. People who won't care that you're my daughter. People you've already pissed off. He hung up. And for the first time in weeks, I didn't feel brave. I felt hunted. The next day it started. Not publicly. But with Harper. She couldn't access her apartment. Locks changed. Lease revoked. They bought the building, she said, breathless on the phone. I checked. A shell company. Quiet purchase. Yesterday. The day after that, Elias's mother, who hadn't spoken to a reporter in decades, was hit by a car. Driver never stopped. She'll live. Barely. And the message was clear. Stop digging. Or we'll start burying. I called a contact at the DOJ. Told them everything. Sent encrypted copies of the files. They said they'd open a review. But I could hear it in their voice. They were scared too. Because this wasn't just about the Carringtons anymore. It was about the network they fed. That night, I did something I never thought I'd do. I went back to the estate. Not for drama. Not for war. But for a deal. My mother answered the door herself. She didn't look surprised. What do you want? To end it. You're done then. No, I said. You are. You think exposing an old affair and some shady deals will take us down? Not just that. I have the trust rewrites your father left behind. The ones that split the Carrington fortune between me and any blood heirs, including Elias. Her lips parted. Is wide. That's not possible. It is. I found the second will. I let that sink in. The moment I make it public, half your empire becomes his. She looked at me like I was fire. And then she whispered, "What do you want?" I gave her 3 options. Publicly acknowledge Elias. Step down from the foundation. Donate half of the Carrington holdings to a transparency initiative. With my name on it. She called it extortion. I called it the beginning of balance. And then I walked out. Not because I was safe. But because I finally understood. This wasn't a victory lap. This was just the middle of a war with no rules. The next morning, someone left a package on my office doorstep. No name. No message. Just a box. Inside. A single bullet. Wrapped in a strip of paper that read, "Keep digging." There's a moment when fear becomes background noise. Doesn't go away. Just gets quieter. Until it's no louder than a heartbeat. That's where I was. Because if they were sending bullets now, they were running out of better options. Harper stared at the package on my desk like it might explode. "We need security. We need witnesses," I said. "I want this on the record." We sent the bullet to a contact at a private forensics firm. Not the police. Not because I didn't trust the law. But because I'd finally accepted something. This war was too big for institutions. And then came the second folder. It arrived the same way as the first. Anonymously, through the encrypted side channel we'd created for whistleblowers. But this one didn't contain files. Contained photos. Of me. Elias. Harper. Office. Homes. Cars. Some taken from inside buildings we thought were secure. But the worst was a photo of me. Leaping. I dropped the file. My stomach turned cold. Not because I was shocked. But because I wasn't. They were close. Too close. And it was time to flip the board. I called a private press conference under the name of my shell company, Cipher & Company. We invited everyone. local reporters, independent journalists, whistleblower advocates, international outlets. We gave them 72 hours notice. And during that time, we prepared the nuclear option. A final release on the ledger. One that wouldn't just expose individual crimes, but the entire structure that held them up. Flowchart. Mapping connections between Carrington board members, government officials, real estate laundering networks, charities that were actually shell accounts, and at the center, foundation, by families, with my mother's signature on every page. We launched the press conference at a neutral venue. No logos, no ego, just facts. Harper handled the timeline. Elias shared his story. And I laid down the final blow. The will my grandfather left. Digitally backed. Timestamp. Recorded on blockchain. It named Elias and me as equal heirs. Not just to the Carrington name, but to its corruption. And when it was over, I said only one thing into the microphone. You wanted to ruin me quietly. But now the whole world is watching. So let's see who survives the silence. They came for us within hours. A lawsuit the size of a phone book. Security clearances revoked. Carrington Foundation board frozen. Family lawyers issuing statements about unauthorized leaks and fabricated evidence. But it was too late. Because by then, the public had spoken. And the court of public opinion is louder than blood. That night, back at the office, Harper sat beside me. We watched the site hit 1 million views. Then 2 million. Then trending globally under hashtag the ledger files. You think we've won? She asked. I shook my head. No. But we've burned the mask. And now? They'll have to fight us in the open. She smiled. What about Elias? I looked over at him. On the other side of the room, sitting quietly, holding the one photo of us as kids. He's not a secret anymore. He's a Carrington now. And this time, they can't erase him. But the war wasn't done. Because just as I exhaled, phone buzzed. Harper's. One new text. Block number. Just 4 chilling words. Your building is next. You ever feel like you just started winning? Only to realize the final battle hasn't even begun. That's where I am now. Standing on the edge of something massive. And this time, someone's not walking away. We evacuated the building in 6 minutes. No alarms. No panic. Just Harper, Elias, and the security team we hired from a firm that didn't ask questions. We left through the underground lot, took separate cars, and rerouted all company servers to a secondary location 2 states away. The text had said, "Your building is next." And we believed them. Because when the Carringtons can't kill your silence, they try to kill your stage. But they didn't bomb it. They bought it. Leased the land overnight. Sent a falsified fire hazard report. Brought in city inspectors. Shut us down under the guise of compliance. Clever. Elegant. And so very Carrington. But we were ready. Because 3 hours before they locked the doors, I did something they didn't expect. I went live. From a hotel room. No makeup. No lawyer. Just me. Streaming to every platform I could. And I told everything. About my father. The summer house. Elias. The will. The threats. The bullet. The photo of me sleeping. And then. Named names. All of them. CEOs. The judge who buried whistleblower testimony. The senator who received a 6-figure donation from a Carrington Shell Corp 2 days before voting down a transparency bill. I showed the ledgers. The contracts. The files. And then I said, they can buy the buildings. They can erase my name. They can even come for me. But what they'll never understand is that the ledger isn't mine anymore. It belongs to the people. And truth doesn't need a last name. We expected backlash. We expected lawsuits. We did not expect what happened next. Wave. From other survivors. Other silenced heirs. Disowned children. Corporate ghosts. People who had been ruined for speaking out. And they didn't just send messages. They sent evidence. audio, video, contracts, medical reports, char files. So much that we had to build a second version of the ledger, one powered by them. It was no longer just about my family. It was a movement. And then the final blow. Federal hearing, called by a congressional oversight committee. And the first subpoena went to my father. The second, me. He arrived in a $2,000 suit. I wore the same white dress I wore the day my mother asked me to breakfast. Symbolism matters. The room was full. Cameras rolling. Microphones hot. And when they asked him, "Did you attempt to silence your daughter through intimidation, corruption, or violence?" He smiled and said, "No. I tried to protect my family." I looked at him, then at the committee, and said, "He protected a legacy of secrets. I chose to protect people." Took weeks, but eventually, he was indicted, not just for fraud, but for conspiracy. And the moment the judge denied him bail was the first time in my life I saw my father look small. Now, the Carrington estate is under investigation. The foundation has been shut down. Half the board resigned. And Elias, he's opening the first legal firm dedicated exclusively to whistleblower protections, funded by the assets my grandfather quietly left him. Harper's now running the ledger full-time. And me gave my last name up. Legally. Because Madison Carrington doesn't exist anymore. Just Madison Grace. And that feels exactly right. You ever go to war with your past and come out not just alive, but reborn? That's me now. And if you're watching this, just know, your truth matters. Your voice is enough. And when they try to shut you down, let that be your reason to speak louder. Drop a comment if you've ever faced silence and chose truth anyway. Like this if you believe names don't define legacy, actions do. And subscribe if you're ready for more real stories, ones with grit, fire, and endings that burn beautiful.